Peace, everyone. This is Lauren, aka L Boogie. I'm sitting here with Derrick Jones, aka D Nice, former member of Boogie Down Productions, rapper, photographer, and filmmaker. Is that what you're doing now?
Yes, I need you to do all of my intros. That was nice. Do a little bit of everything, you know. Directing, I have a documentary series on hip hop that's online right now called True Hip Hop Stories. I also have one that pretty much deals with R&B artists called Soul Survivors, where we shot pieces on Eric Benet and on Bilal. And I'm gonna shoot a piece on Raphael Sadiq and my boy Maxwell. So, you know, it's pretty cool.
So, do you just call them up and be like, "Hey, Maxwell, I want to do a video.
Well,
Can you come over this Thursday?" Is it that easy to just hang out with these amazing figures?
I wouldn't say it's that easy, but I know, like an artist like Maxwell, we always see each other out. And the last time I ran into him, you know, he was like, "Dude, I'm ready." Like, you know, people see the pieces online, and you know, they love them. Actually, all of the artists that I was able to interview, whether on the hip hop side or on the R&B side, they were all pretty much honest and open. You know, I'm not trying to exploit anyone. You know, it's their stories, you know, and I don't edit it to look a certain way. It's strictly about what we talked about, and like I said, I want people to know the artist the way I do. Right. You know, I see a different side of them, so that's what made me get into it.
Sounds similar to what I'm trying to do here, even though I wasn't a former artist. I'm still learning everything about this culture. Let's start with something so general like, what does hip-hop mean to you?
Oh, man. I mean, I can't. That's a tough thing to answer, you know, because it means various things to me, especially in all of the different phases that I've gone through in life, you know, where I started out as a beatbox, and I learned how to DJ, not really as a party DJ, but, you know, learned how to, you know, count bars and produce records by the time I was like 16 or 17 years old. So hip-hop meant something totally different to me as a youth. In my 20s, it was more about survival, you know, where I was doing beats for a lot of people, producing my own stuff. You know, I wanted to earn a living. So it meant something different at that phase. By the time I turned 30, it was more, I wanted to become more of a hip-hop historian, to learn more about the culture. You know, I felt like I had taken so much from it as an artist, and now I wanted to give back and learn to give back the right way. So even in my 30s, and now that I've turned 40, it means something different to me. You know, the music, the culture itself, you know, the people. I mean, it's so amazing. I'm still inspired every day by this culture. So, you know, to me, it's truly a way of life. You know, everything that I do is based on hip hop, from the photography, you know, from the music, the DJing, just everything. Just
all the elements, basically.
Absolutely, yes. So.
What was it like to be such a young artist during that explosive time in hip hop?
Well, the thing about it is, when I was never trying to be a rap artist. You know, like I loved, you know, writing songs. I wanted to go to law school. Like, that was always my thing. And but I was always fascinated by artists. You know, people like Pebbly Pooh, you know, like just random hip hop artists that I would hear back in the day. You know, definitely Grandmaster Flash, and, you know, the Funky Four plus one more, like all of these people, you know, Kool Moe Dee. Like, I used to listen to the mixes, you know, when they had the tapes out, Busy Bee and all of these guys. So I never really wanted to be in it. I just loved the culture. And, you know, it was a chance meeting DJ Scott LaRock at a men's homeless shelter. He was a social worker there. KRS lived there, and my cousin worked. He was a security guard at the time, and I happened to go over there to visit him. And then my cousin was just kind of messing with Scott, like, "Oh, this dude can rap," and I had never written a lyric ever, you know. And you know, Scott looked at me and was like, "Yo, you're gonna be a part of the group." And it was just that simple. I didn't know Scott all of 30 minutes. and he immediately put me down with Boogie Down Productions. And you know, my first song, the first lyrics that I'd ever written was a song called "The TR-808 Is Coming." Like, it's so crazy. Like, even when I listen back to like my old music, you know, you can kind of tell that I wasn't really an MC. You know, like, but I loved the music, and it was a challenge. It was fun. I loved it. You know, and I love producing, and you know, and I've had an amazing time doing this stuff. You know, like I was 16. You know, South Bronx came out. I was 16 years old. You know, traveling the world. So, you know, I'm very grateful for that meeting of Scott.
Right,
You know?
but a lot of hip hop icons from the 70s and 80s and early 90s, they didn't continue with their skill and their craft. They would, you know, they're still stuck in 81, and they didn't continue their DJing, their rhyming, their producing. But with you, you took it to another level where you continued DJing, even at these clubs in New York City and Washington, D.C. or whatnot. And you're involved with film and arts and all these things. And I think that's what hip-hop is about, and not many people realize that. So are you happy with where you are right now and what you're doing?
I love where I am, you know. I'm not necessarily a club DJ anymore. It's mainly all private events, you know. I tour. I mean, I just finished touring with the Roots and Q-Tip on the Hennessy tour, which was like Shaka Khan. It was amazing, you know. And even with a tour like that, it wasn't just about DJing. You know, I actually performed with the Roots. I DJ'd, like I opened up the entire event, but walking in the doors, you had a chance to like walk through my photo exhibition. So it was like D-Nice on 3 levels. And it was an amazing experience, you know, and I'm just grateful to be here to be able to like show people hip hop through my eyes, you know. It's just like I spent a lot of time after my last album and before I started DJing events where all I did was wonder what life in the hip hop game would have been like had I dropped an album mid-90s and not in the beginning of the 90s. You know, and it used to drive me crazy, you know, and I could have been one of those old school artists that, you know, live in that time and you know, still kind of stuck in one time zone, but I didn't want anyone labeling me old school. Like, I love my culture. I love that I was able to experience hip hop. I would consider myself one of the top event DJs because I DJ for everyone, you know. I mean, from the Oscars to, you know, Super Bowl. These people that hire me have no idea about my hip-hop history. They don't even know anything about KRS and that connection. It's not even that audience. And I navigate through that crowd. I navigate through the old school. And I'm good through rock and roll. I mean, I opened for the Beasties, for Kid Rock, like straight rock and roll, to where I opened for Trey Songz, where it's like straight young kid R&B. They don't have a clue who I am, but they enjoy the music. So, you know, I just hope that for the people of my era, and not just the younger kids, but the people from my era that are looking for a way to still grow and to not be pigeonholed. Maybe you can look at what I'm doing and not say follow me, but follow your heart, live your dreams, you know, have no regrets. You know, I'm enjoying my life, you know, and I went through a period where I was kind of tough when the clapping stopped, like, oh, what am I going to do? And I realized that, you know, it wasn't just about people clapping for me. It was about, you know, early on, it was just about doing the things that I loved, you know. I made records because I loved them. Like, half the people don't even know, like, half of those BDP records, the tracks were mine. I didn't get any production credit, nor do I complain about it. I did it because I loved it, you know, and I made my own records because I loved it. You know, I take pictures. I shoot for everyone from America's Next Top Model. I've done that. Photograph Halle, 50, Reebok campaigns. I don't have a portfolio, and I do that for a reason. It's strictly about, you know, I just love taking pictures. And if you know me, you want to hire me, cool. If you don't, and you ask me to send the book, then that means that you're not really familiar with who I am, and then I shouldn't be doing the work for you. So,
what do you think of what hip-hop is today? When I say what it is today, is people like Soulja Boy and T.I. and Lil Wayne and all these new artist that brought in this whole different sound that has no relation to what it was when you were starting off. How does it feel to see that progression and growth of hip hop into what it is today?
I love it. You know, I know it's going to sound a little crazy coming from me, being that I'm from Boogie Down Productions, but you also have to remember that the time that our music came out was so different than now. You know, I mean, life was different then. We weren't that far removed from the civil rights era. People wanted to talk about, you know, black power and you know, educating through music. I mean, the climate was so different. You had crack going on. I mean, it was rough, you know. And not to say that what kids are going through today, you know, isn't rough. I mean, they have their own experiences, but life is so different. So I cannot tell Soulja Boy what he should and shouldn't be saying because I didn't grow up in his shoes. You know, I'm not from where he's from. I don't know what his experiences are. The only thing that I will say is that your first album should be different than your second and third album. Your life is different. So I can't be mad, you know, if he came out and his lyrics were about, you know, Crank That and Superman. That's what that was a part of his experience, and that's what hip hop is. You know, you rapped about your experiences. But your second and third album, you now live in this multi-million-dollar home. That's when you need to, like, you should still be real and still be honest. If this is your lifestyle, then talk about that. Don't get stuck doing one thing, you know. And although an artist like Jay, you know, he may still rhyme about, you know, his hustling days, but then he will have, like, to me, like, Blueprint 3 was nearly like the perfect adult hip-hop album, you know, because he talked about a lot of different things. And, you know, life is different for him now. Even in the Empire State of Mind record, he talks about going from Brooklyn to now he lives in Tribeca. Like, that's real. Right. That's honest. And it was still a great record. So, you know, I always tell kids, you know, like, just rhyme about your life, you know, if that's what you're going to do. If you're keeping it real, then keep it all the way real. A style like mine, you can't find it. They are the audience, I am the lyricist. Sometimes the suckers on the side gotta hear this page of rage. Even my group, Boogie Down Productions, we weren't always positive. And not just to say criminal-minded. I mean, criminal-minded, you know, could mean anything. But we had songs like The P is Free, and, you know, so it's not... People grow, and you have to allow them to grow. KRS wasn't always the artist and the advocate that he is today, you know, and neither was Chuck D. You know, these people, they grew along with their music and with their fans, and you know, I feel like we owe it to these kids that are making music now to allow them to grow and allow them to learn, you know, and show them a little bit of love and some guidance, and they'll be fine. As far as, like, when people come up to me and they, you know, tell me things like, oh, I grew up to your music, sometimes it's a little weird, especially when I see certain people and they may be in their 50s and I'm like, dang, I'm not even close to you in age and you're a fan of mine, and it's kind of weird. But, you know, to have been a part of the culture early on where not everyone was an MC, not everyone had records out, it was tough to get your records played on the radio, especially on daytime, and we've done that so many times. So to have been able to have that experience and for people to still remember when they hear your music, what they were doing when that song came out or when that album was dropped, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing feeling, and it keeps me going.
All right, D-Nice, well, thank you for interviewing with me today. Everyone, this has been El Boogie with El Boogie's Video Journal. For now, peace out. D-Nice, anything else you want to say?
Shout out to Big Jeff.
Shout out to Big Jeff.
No, that's knowledgeable. I know, right? Jeff knows everyone.
Actually, I think that's how we met.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jeff at, wait, where were we?
Opus 22.
Opus 22. Wow.
Shout out to Opus 22. Yeah. Rest in peace, Opus 22.
I know, man. It's crazy. For the love of hip-hop. Peace.
Word. Yo, what up, D-Nice?
Yo, what's up, Scott LaRock?
Yo, man, we chilling this funky fresh jam.
Yo, what's up? This is D-Nice, and you're watching El Boogie's Video Journal. I mean, what else would you be watching to hear classic stories?
South Bronx, the South Bronx, South Bronx, the South Bronx, South Bronx, the South Bronx, South Bronx, the South Bronx. Many people tell me this style is terrific. It is kind of different, but let's get specific. KRS-One specialized in music. I'll only use this type of style when I choose it. Party people in the place to be.